everyone's up there. Everyone's complaining. Actually, Michael, as you know, last night I thought there's some beautiful pictures of Callum at the Winter Go in the Netherlands, where he showed himself to be exceptional, kind. Towards the end of the week, a really nice young man, turned up and was clearly from the underground and a bit delicate, shall we say. And Callum mothered him, and brothered him, and made sure he was eating fine, had a friend if he needed it. It was extraordinary. And very early, I think the second night, when Callum was trying to volunteer to clean up, the coterie that run the place in a non-hierarchical way went, honestly, you did it last night, and, you know, everyone can get a turn if they're able. I wasn't allowed to do anything, although I'm quite good in the kitchen anyway. And so I made sure the coffee was always on. Because there's only one meal a day. During the day, the huge professional kitchen was available to everyone. Extraordinary, really well done. So, you know, don't make a cup of coffee, make a pot for everyone. Don't just make a cup of tea, make a pot, etc. And wash up as you go, etc. And then there's nothing to do. And Callum was like, I understand. He said, but, you know, I'm young, fit and whatever, and I like to do things. And they were like, all right then. So, well, not every night. He did something every day. He was extraordinary. He played games with everybody in all languages really well. Yeah, a lot like his father. But with my personal skills in small groups and large groups, he did actually say that. He said, I'm like you, you know. And I thought, are you? I haven't spent a lot of time with him. But I remember in detail each time. Yes, no, I don't like baseball caps, Callum, but you were about 8. And the day that we went to Kew Gardens and then that restaurant where you could do things on the interactive table, which wasn't an accident, he said, you're a vegetarian? I went, yeah. He said, I'm not. He said, why are you vegetarian? I said, well, there's a few reasons. It's not good for the body. We don't have the right intestines, etc. I said, but I also think it's immoral. And I don't think it's good for the body or the soul. And if you push me, thou shalt not kill is pretty non-vague. It is don't kill. He said, okay. He said, I don't agree with that. I went, excellent. Perfectly entitled to. In fact, I want you to be yourself. That's all I want you to be around me is yourself. And he said, can I order anything I want? I said, of course. It's on the menu, you can have it. And it was the first time either of us had come across. I thought you'd be able to, when it said interactive, I thought you could order his food on the table, the interactive table, but no, you could only draw, play games, etc. Of which he was exceptional and I was hopeless, which was great, actually. But it was like a tablet to order the food, which I was disappointed by, because I thought, well, that's not what it says on the tin. He was like, yes. Okay. And he ordered spare ribs to start with. Good on him. And then he ordered Adele would have ordered the spare ribs and Michael. And then he ordered the duck pancakes, which Adele would have ordered. I don't know about Michael. Michael would have been looking for steak, in my opinion. I don't know, though. We mostly went to Indian. Michael loved Indians. And he loved authentic Indians. So I don't know which region of India he particularly liked, but there was a restaurant in Barnes that we went to often. And it was so perfect that it was difficult for him to go to different Indian restaurants because he knew what he wanted, the way they did it. Michael was wonderful. He would, there'd be like 12 of us maybe, and the most amazing evening. And the next morning, Michael would call me and say, well, how did last night go? I said, you are kidding. I said, everyone had the most amazing time. I said, people are aching still from laughter. And then he was like, excellent. But he needed to know. He didn't know. I suppose because he'd been around a lot of fake laughter and conviviality. People like to think every evening has to be the greatest and every experience has to be the best. The Slovenian girlfriend Barbara, I was impressed when she went, that's the best, for a few days. And I realised everything's the bloody best. When does the worst happen? That's a very rude thing to say, but yes, it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't very good. When she came to 5 days in London, she had the most amazing, first time ever in London, she had the most amazing time. Even I thought, wow. Although all my friends in Islington, when we met up with the musicians and stuff, we stayed at a musician's house. Well, actually, he works on whatever Bandersnatch is, and Charlie Brooker's Scream Right. Joel Morris. Actually, Candidate. No. Everything else is uninteresting. Google, YouTube, Candidate, all their albums. Something saying Tiger Lily, but wasn't that Alex's album? There was an album 15 years ago, maybe 20, maybe 25. 25, because I think it came out around the time I went and stayed with Alison after Amsterdam one time. Second time, I think. And after I worked for Cisco Systems. And the Candidate had a review out in the Sunday Times, and it was 5 stars. And it actually said, the reviewer said, this is the sort of music that music critics listen to, while you buy Coldplay in the millions. It was the most extraordinary thing. They had a 5-star review in the Sunday Times for the latest album, but they couldn't afford to tour because they had jobs, and it just wasn't. But I was there the day we were in Bar Retro, which is a good bar, actually. If you want to know how to get to Bar Retro, it's really easy. You go to Charing Cross train station, or you're at Trafalgar Square, and you walk towards Charing Cross train station. You take not the first right, that takes you to Heaven and the Embankment and the tube station Embankment, but where there's a bank machine, between the bank machine and McDonald's, where the bank machine is here, you go down the alleyway, right? So if you're coming from Charing Cross Station or Trafalgar Square, you see the bank machine. It's at this wall. You go down there, and about 100 metres on the left, there's a homosexual bar. It's one of the cheapest bars in London, and it's called Bar Retro, and it's wonderful. I don't know. I mean, it's just a bar. What do you expect? And we were there, and Joel and his brother, Joel's brother, they used to do a satirical online magazine, and Hat-Trick would do, Have I Got News For You? We're like, want to do an annual? And they were like, and they got a cheque for something like £5,000, but that meant they could quit their jobs and go for creativity full time between the writing and the music. Well, I hadn't seen him in over a decade, I think, and but in that decade, I'll be watching Charlie Booker's Green Ripe, and I start to see his name, Joel Morris, and then Philomena Kunk, Joel Morris. I'm going to end, but he is an amazing person. We stayed he just bought a flat in Islington, and so Barbara and I stayed there in the computer room. And but before we went to bed, Alex and Joel started playing with the guitars, etc. And Joel sang this beautiful song, and I was in tears. Barbara was also in tears. And at the end of the song, he said, "That's the first time I've sung that to anyone. I wrote it this afternoon." Honestly, sex that night was so easy because she was already orgasming. I'm just saying. She had the best time ever. Oh, yeah. It was that weekend she went, "So what happened in Essaouira? Sex was just like..." And she said, "Now it's incredible." I went, "I don't know. I thought the same. Thank God you gave me a second go, eh? Otherwise,